Hello, Dr. Obeng. How are you?
Well, Dr. Jones, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. I just thought I'd reach out to you because, I'm always inundated with stuff in my inbox. People ask me to interpret things that are happening in gospel music, Black sacred music, music around the world. Your wife
Yes.
has fed my habit. Shout out to Eunice Nueki of Nueki.com.
Yes.
But I thought of y'all and just our conversations around those interesting worship moments.
Yes.
I saw this video by this gentleman earlier this week, and I wanted to like get your take on it. And what I think I'll do first, just to orient folks who might check this video out, I will actually play the video just so folks
Sure.
can see what it is. I'm prompting you to think with me about, because I want the saints of God to be known by their love and not their,
Right.
their ignorance. So I actually posted it on my page. I'm scrolling down to the page because I thought of it. But while I'm doing this, can you tell folks about yourself? You are multi-talented. You're a physician, innovative in medicine. You are also an author and business owner. Tell us about who you are.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jones. I appreciate the introduction. My name is Paa-Ko Obeng. I'm a internal medicine physician. I trained at Ohio University College of Osteopathic Medicine. I graduated in 2010. Did my residency in St. Joseph's Health Center, which is based in Warren, Ohio. And then I started working as an internal medicine doctor at Bon Secours. I'm currently working at the VA right now. Also, I'm the author of a sci-fi political thriller called Vigil. It's out now on all platforms. So that's kind of what I do in my off time too. And then, so that's kind of my other business is being an author and self-publisher. So I appreciate you thinking about this.
How did you get into that? How did you get into self-publishing?
Good question. So I'd always been real into comics and things like that. So I had a storyline in my mind that I wanted to bring. I was actually thinking about making it more of a graphic novel or comic, but I felt it would be better as a novel because of what I wanted to touch on, the themes I wanted to touch on. So I started writing the story a long time ago. Finally put, I guess, a finger to keyboard in 2002, but I didn't really publish it until 2019. So it took a long time between inception and actually creation. So I was like, well, let me go ahead and try, doing it on my own versus trying to get an agent and all this other stuff. So thankfully, I learned from other people in terms of self-publishing and learned from other well-known self-published authors out there. And that's kind of how I got there.
I love it. I think, you guys, the Obeng clan has a good acumen, sense. And I'll tell you, having just released my book through University Press, I could tell you that it's far more lucrative to self-publish.
Yeah, right.
Definitely doing it for the love.
That's right. And you can always hybrid publish too in the future too, Dr. Jones. So you can do both self-publishing and with the established publishing company. So there's always that option. So
I will be making my consultation appointment.
Yes, for sure.
I know how it goes. Well, I
right.
found the video, and hopefully we can return to this conversation because, in our group of friends, we like to talk about streams of income and maximizing the moment. So I look forward to continuing that conversation. So I'm going to share the screen with you and those who might check this out. Let's do this. This is through Instagram of Laugh. Let's take a look and listen.
Okay.
I feel the rain. 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 It's raining all over me. I'm moist. I'm moist. Call and response, I said I'm moist. I'm moist. Good. Lord God, I'm moist. I'm moist. Yes, I am. Rain all over me. I'm saturated. I'm saturated. I'm saturated. I'm saturated. I'm saturated. I'm saturated. Yes, I am. I'm saturated. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm damp. I'm damp. I'm damp. I'm damp. Lord, I'm damp. I'm damp. Oh Lord, damp. I'm damp. I'm even wet. Wet all over for you, Lord. Wet. Lord, I'm wet. Wet. Will you open the floodgates? Sing! Open the floodgates. Feel the rain.
This was a very interesting clip that popped. It was posted by Church of Laugh, and I reached out to you because after the moment of encounter subsided, I wrestled with what were people laughing, perhaps nervously at, largely because in my research for the book Flaming, The Peculiar Theopolitics of Fire and Desire, I do begin the work of thinking about social justice and worship, and how disability is addressed through our worship, and how we are all sensitive to the things that people are dealing with. Wrapped up in his response to the Spirit, I'll say, were the signals and signifiers of disability with the walker, but then also sonically, his response could be heard from a medical standpoint as a potential praise for both men and women who are navigating various, we'll say, afflictions or irregularities or disabilities. And so I thought I'd engage you because your wife has talked about the uptick or demand in your practice as ministry, and just how do you hear what our brother could potentially be pointing towards in his praise? How do you hear it?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Jones. At first, yeah, initially, the first impulse is to laugh or something like that. But if you look deeply, I mean, this man, honestly, he's feeling the Holy Spirit. I think he's just being very honest when he says, I'm damp, I'm moist. Like, of course, we're attributing it more to maybe of a sexual nature. And I think that's what people are getting a laugh out of. But I mean, in terms of the feeling of like the Holy Spirit, essentially, I guess he's actually feeling like, okay, I'm healed in terms of, his disabilities, most likely based on what I could see. I mean, the gentleman is obese, and unfortunately that can cause a lot of issues with your joints. And I could see, like you mentioned earlier, he has a rollator walker. And that might be, one of those things that he's praising God that he's healed because of the fact that he's dealing with this issue with the arthritis, which inhibits his ability to walk, and then also too, it might be inhibiting other functions too. In a previous job, I worked with men who dealt with issues, in terms of sexual dysfunction and stuff like that too. So that might be another factor that might be playing a role as well in that gentleman's praise as well. He might be feeling like, okay, the Lord is helping him in other areas initially. So, on the outset, you think it's funny, but at the same time, you think about what he's dealing with, what he potentially could be dealing with. And not only that, not just the arthritis causing the joint issues, but he might be also dealing with other chronic issues that we don't see, maybe diabetes, thyroid issues, maybe even heart failure. I didn't see his legs, but I mean, he could have had fluid on his legs. So it could be a number of things that he's dealing with. So.
Could you say a little bit more about, for example, for those who, and I'm often approached to give commentary on sort of the slippages within the worship where some of the meanings can be heard as erotic moments in praise. And so that's why people were sending it to me.
Right.
But can that, number one, as a physician who has walked closely with men who experience challenges with performance, potencies.
Yeah.
Can there be a legitimate site for praise, like literally because of sexual healing? Can there be a site of praise?
You know what? Yeah, it's interesting you asked that, Dr. Jones, because I think sometimes, especially in the Christian community, we kind of don't address the whole person in the sense of we are human beings. The Lord made us, male and female, and we have certain functions that we have. And part of them is, the physical side, not just the spiritual side. We tend to over spiritualize things sometimes. And sometimes, people are getting healing, whether it be in, their joints or in a sexual function. That might be an area of praise because, I don't know what that man's situation is, on that side of things, but that could be a valid reason why he praised God as well, because we pray for healing in other things. We don't really think about that, I think, in the in the church setting, but it is part of who we are as human beings too.
Yeah.
So.
And I would just add that even if that were not his particular condition,
Right.
as a teacher, as a music minister, people can get a revelation, an unintended revelation from something I say that meets their particular need.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
very well not have any, conditions for which you specialize, but someone hearing it could
Mm-hmm.
experience deliverance, affirmation,
Mm-hmm.
being seen or heard,
Yeah.
flow of his praise. And I'm reminded of two works around sexual surrogacy and the controversial practice of helping people. But then also musically, there is an artist formerly known as Tone who released a song called Wired, where from a queer sense, he gave praise for escaping STD, STI infection. And folks who are heterosexual heard that and they were like, why would you be in church
Mm-hmm.
when I think of all the STDs that could be up in my body? But if this person comes from a community where their sexuality is heavily connected to potential exposure to STDs, STIs, which anyone who has unprotected sex has.
Right. Right. Anybody.
And so I guess it's just interesting to perhaps think more about anatomical function, biological and chemical function within the body, and how that knowledge could actually deepen or enrich the praise that we give. So for those who might have heard it or might experience in that way, do you have any advice for folks exploring treatment or folks to support loved ones who may be, or love interests who may be dealing with various types of paralysis or dysfunction?
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Dr. Jones, for asking that question. Yeah, I would just say be supportive and then encourage that person, that loved one, or if it is that person that's dealing with it directly, seeking medical attention. A lot of times, I can speak from a male perspective. A lot of times, those issues in terms of like sexual dysfunction, a lot of times it can be issues that can be easily addressed. A lot of it is mental. I would say a majority of it is mental. And so that can play a role in terms of being supportive of that person in terms of dealing with whatever stressors or things that might be going on in their, in their minds and in their day-to-day activities that might be causing stress that might affect them in terms of sexual dysfunction. The other thing would be organic causes. So if the person, is diabetic, that's going to affect them. I have a lot of patients I've dealt with throughout the years that once, they're diabetic, they're a number that we measure diabetes, I'm calling A1C. So if that number is above 6.5, then we know someone's a diabetic. So they have numbers that are very high, then I know, okay, this guy's complaining of, sexual dysfunction. It's probably because his sugars are very high. Let me go ahead and control that, So encouraging those people to deal with those health issues, thyroid is another issue as well. So just encouraging those people to seek attention. Don't be embarrassed about it. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. And I'm encouraged because I feel like more and more men, because I think we're socialized as men to be very macho, right? We don't want to address things that might be going on, especially when it comes to areas of sexual dysfunction and stuff like that. But I'm encouraged that I feel like more and more men are more open about it. I think more men, just from my experience, seem to be more comfortable with a male doctor when it comes to talking about stuff like that.
I was going to ask,
Yeah.
man, do you get a sense of, do you have your other Black male clients seemed appreciative of your presence as you walk with them? Has that been a thing?
Yes, I've been blessed. I'm telling you, I honestly feel blessed to be a doctor in this region. Where I currently work, I live in southeastern Virginia in the Hampton Roads area, and there are a lot of us African Americans here. Now, a lot of people I've interacted with, they would say I'm the first Black doctor they've had. I had one patient who said I was his first Black doctor. He's lived here for years and years. Never had a Black doctor before, so I just get so happy. The encouragement I get from my patients that they're happy to see another Black male, physician that can understand them. Even one of my patients, oh my gosh, one of my patients said, I'm happy that I finally have somebody who can understand me. So it meant a lot to me, having that my patient say that to me, because that lets me know he probably didn't feel heard, especially in the medical community. Unfortunately, we have that history of being prejudicial towards people of color, especially Black people. In terms of the quality of care that's been given to Black people, especially Black males, so I was very encouraged. I've gotten positive feedback from my Black male patients. They feel more comfortable talking to me about these things, and I feel comfortable talking to them and being honest, man to man, what things could be going on, how I can help them, addressing their concerns, so they don't feel so awkward, especially if it's someone maybe of a different gender or a different ethnic group. So,
and lastly, in a related sense, it occurs to me that I often hear that, and of course there could be a pivot toward women's issues along these lines. But from your expertise, especially because of the stigma for function and dysfunction for and how can these anxieties become lethal? How can it become detrimental to their health to not actively talk about any challenges or irregularities that they are experiencing?
Thank you so much for asking that question. It could be detrimental in a number of ways. I'll talk about both relationally and physiologically. So relationally, I would say it could be detrimental because it can be an issue with their partner, them not addressing that sexual dysfunction. It could lead to, unfortunately, maybe breaking up their relationship with their partner, a lot of resentment towards, your partner. Sometimes I've heard patients, my male patients say, they might be trying to be intimate with their female partner and they are not able to, function like they would like to, and their female partner gets upset and they feel like that person might be, cheating on them or, something that's why that person, my male patient is not performing as such. And so that can be very detrimental if they don't address it, with a physician, to address those issues. And then on the physiological side, I would say it could be a sign of underlying disease. So if someone has, like I mentioned earlier, diabetes that's not been treated, heart disease, those, uncontrolled high blood pressure, which falls under that umbrella of heart disease, that can be lethal over time. Because if I have a guy whose blood pressure is through the roof, that could be why they're not having, good sexual response. And that could also be a reason why they might have a stroke or heart attack down the line. So that's definitely something, that should be addressed.
Well, I have to say, the Obeng clan is just so gifted in the science. Lord, y'all got a ministry. You hear me?
Thank you.
I mean, season and out of season, and y'all are just good conversation partners. How can people, if they want advice, godly medical advice, how can they reach you?
Okay, they can reach me on, let's see here. They can reach me on a couple routes. They can email me. Actually, I'll give you my business email. It's paobeng@ascendancepublishing.com. And then also they can reach me on Instagram or Facebook. Facebook is just my regular name, Paa-Ko Obeng. And then Instagram also, Paa-Ko Obeng is my just regular Instagram. And then my author Instagram is author PB Obeng. So on IG.
Awesome. I'm pretty confident that even you know, the conversation and getting to know you and patronizing you, because we need Black physicians,
Yes,
amen.
ma'am.
That they will
Yes,
be
ma'am.
blessed. And if nothing else, please support Dr. Obeng's book. Please, 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 as a business owner, please support him. And thank you. Give my love to Eunice. And
I will. Thank
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you again for having me. And I'm honored to be interviewed by someone who's been on PBS, who's done an amazing job on that documentary when it came to a Black church. I loved it, Dr. Jones. My wife and I loved it. You did a fantastic job. So I just want to let you know.
Well, you know, I'm a Obeng fan. So listen, ain't nothing but a bad.
And we're going to.
Sorry, to be continued.
Thank you. All right. Take care. Bye.